Alright. Welcome everybody back to the Cleric's Temple. And today I've got another build video for you guys. This is a build that I've been working on for a while now. I'm calling it John the Fisherman. Yeah, like the song. Basically what it does is that it takes full advantage of Amara's ability to do melee damage, plus the abilities of the fish slap grenade, unsurprisingly. This is a combo that has existed for a while. People are fully aware of the capabilities of melee builds with the fish slap grenade. However, I was surprised that not a lot of people are using the purple tree when it comes to Amara using these melee builds. So, I set about trying to see if I can make one work. And I think I got a bit of a doozy for you guys here today, so let's get right into it. First thing we're going to go over is the build itself in regards to skills. So what I like to do is start with 5 points here in the blue tree, and this is the only 5 points that you'll be dropping in the blue tree. I drop that on Do Harm, and that's just to give us the shock ability to put onto our action skill element. Next, moving on to the orange tree, we start with 5 points in Anima, 5 points in Tempest, and then the 1 point in Illuminated Fist. The reason why I put the 5 points in Anima is that this build relies heavily on status effects and elemental damage. So Tempest maxing out your elemental damage, Anima maxing out your elemental damage, and Illuminated Fist giving you that additional melee damage really does some very nice things here. Moving on, we're going to dump a lot of points here in the green tree. We'll start with Personal Space to get that extra damage when you're up close. A couple of points in Clarity. You could easily move this around to another place, but I like to do Clarity. The full 3 in Samsara for the extra gun damage. The 5 points in Arms Deal for the extra splash damage. And then max out Helping Hands. One thing about this build is that it's incredibly squishy. So Helping Hands will help you stay afloat in areas where you shouldn't. Next, we're going to go to Find Your Center and drop a point in there for the extra melee. And now, max out Jab Cross. This is going to give you extra gun damage when you do melee, so that's very important. Now, probably one of the most important skills in the green tree, Guardian Angel. Like I stated before, this build is incredibly squishy. You are the poster child of a glass cannon when you're running this build. So having Guardian Angel is definitely going to be a must. It will get you out of situations that you really have no business getting out of, and keep you alive for that extra couple of seconds that you need to straight up obliterate everything in your path. So make sure you're putting that point in Guardian Angel. Don't worry about Blitz. Blitz is not a great ability, unfortunately, especially if you're going to be running this with the ball. I run this with Slam, but ball is something that you can rotate to in this build, and if you have Blitz, the capstone for the green tree, you're going to wind up charging past your ball a lot. So I would just forget about Blitz entirely and move on into the purple tree. Purple tree is kind of Amara's forgotten skill tree, but it is incredibly powerful, and I'll show you why. First, we're going to start with No Mistakes in Nature completely maxed out. Go ahead and drop your 5 points in Heavy Rain for the projectile speed and splash damage, and then I like to go ahead and max out Ebb and Flow. Next, we go to Unweave the Rainbow and go ahead and drop a point in there. You can just drop that point in any other point though to get down to the next skill. Go ahead and max out Joyful Freedom next. Burning Both Ends is our next couple of points here. Next, we're going to go ahead and max out Body and Mind. When you kill an enemy, you're going to deal bonus splash damage. That becomes very important later on. I don't fool with any of these other abilities, but I do go ahead and capstone out the purple tree with Clear the Mind. So that's the skill tree. I go ahead and use Expedite again to give us some extra cooldown rate on our action skill. Very important here. You can switch that over to Life Tap if you want to get a little bit more health regen when you slam, but I like Expedite. So that's the skill tree. Let's move over to the gear now so that I can explain to you why this build is so powerful and why it is also extremely gear dependent. you're going to go with a pointy Psycho Stabber just to have another option available to you. A Guardian Angel. This does extremely silly things when it comes to the Fish Slap Grenade. A Face Puncher to have another option to get you out of fight for your life that does a little bit more damage. And, of course, a Blade Fury. We're going to use a Stinger with Action Skill Start. Since we're slamming, that action skill is going to be activated quite often. I also like to use the Muse Comm on this build. You can use a Dragon if you prefer. Next, we move on to one of the most important pieces of the build, the Unleash the Dragon. This is a legendary artifact that you get from El Dragoon on Eden 6, and this artifact is stellar. As you can see, when you inflict damage, you're basically going to have a 100% chance of igniting your enemy with extra incendiary damage and extra incendiary resistance for you. Basically, one hit from anything melee, and you will melt just about anyone on the map, which you will see in just a couple of seconds here. The Unleash the Dragon is the linchpin to this entire build. But this is the most important piece, the Fish Slap Grenade. If you don't know what this grenade does, it's basically a grenade that applies all of its damage as melee damage. And as you can see from the rest of our build, this synergizes incredibly well together. As far as the anointment on the Fish Slap, I went with On Grenade Throw just because you are going to be doing some gun damage on this build as well, but you could go for anything else that your little heart desires. Just make sure you get Fish Slaps in a variety of different elements, so that way you have a higher chance of just melting everything that you come into contact with. So that's the gear. Let's move on to the next part of the video. So what exactly is this capable of? Well, And there you have it. This is John the Fisherman Amara. A very, very powerful build. I am very, very happy with the way this thing turned out. It took me a while to get it to the point where I felt like it was perfect, but now I really seriously do. Now, there are some weaknesses that do come with this build. I've mentioned before in this video already that this build is a glass cannon. You are going to go down often. So if you don't want a build where you will go down, maybe this one isn't for you. However, you do have all the tools necessary to get out a fight for your life without much struggle. This build is also not fantastic at mobbing. As you can see here on the bridge section of the Malawan takedown, it is fully capable of dealing with big groups of mobs, but it's not going to be as efficient as, say, a Ties That Bind build or something like that. It can definitely mob, especially with the Blade Fury. The addition of the Blade Fury into the game made this build even more viable since it gives you another gun option as opposed to just the Face Puncher. But it is certainly not a stellar mobbing build. Where the real power of this build lies is in its ability to boss, as you saw earlier. Melting Hemovorus with just 2 grenade throws, 2 grenade throws for Psycho Reaver, 1 to 2 grenade throws for Wotan. Like, this build will just melt any boss. There is nothing that stands up to this thing once you get your combo rolling. So that's John the Fisherman Amara. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you give this build a try. Let me know down in the comments section below if there's anything that you would change about this build, or if you give this build a try and enjoy it. I really hope that you do. Until next time, be excellent to each other, you guys. Have a great day.